Welcome back, everybody, to Enough. So glad to be back with you and have another conversation with you this week. This week, we're just kind of talking about what we're feeling. Both Stav and I, in the show, we feel like we're in a bit of a slump. And what we mean by that, we just feel like, we're not, I guess performing is maybe not the right word, but not just living to the full potential of our lives in Christ. For me personally, I just feel like, I'm just kind of letting things go. Prayer life hasn't been great. I haven't been reading the Bible too much, just been focusing on other things besides the church. And I think that really has affected our preparation for these shows. We've just been kind of, last minute, hey, what should we talk about? This, and this. Google search a few things, and hopefully that hasn't come across the final videos. But if it has, forgive us. We'll do better. But we were talking about this and we're like, you know what, this might be a good episode to talk about, or a good topic to talk about, because we're kind of at a weird point of the year where the summer's ending, the fall's in the near future, things are about to be picked up. And I feel like this part of the summer, I always get real lazy. I lose a lot of motivation. And so we kind of just wanted to talk about that and how we should fix that, both in our Christian walk and just in our lives as a whole,
Yeah, I mean, I think where you bring up the kind of the transitioning from August until like mid-September is that like month and a half where it's just like, all right, school's about to start up again. Like I might be starting a new like college, a new high school, something like that. So I think people, I'm in it, you're in it. I think everyone our age at least is in this little slump.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can kind of look at like a slump in your life as, I mean, you can compare it to anything in sports, school, anything. You could be in a slump in anything. And, it's super easy to get comfortable with being stuck in a slump and doing the easy things and trying to figure out an easy way out. And sometimes like that's not always the way to go.
Right.
Sometimes,
I guess. Oh,
what,
sorry.
no, you
Well,
go.
no, I just want to we're talking about this idea of a slump, but I guess we never really we're not addressing how do we know that we're in one? So
Okay.
how do you kind of realize that you're in a slump when you kind of
Um,
awake,
I mean, the way I realize I'm in a slump is I wake up and like things I'm usually excited to do, things I'm happy to like do in my life when I wake up, I'm like, dang, I really don't want to do these today.
Yeah.
Like I'm just don't have the energy. I'm not looking forward to it. And I'll like find myself going back to something that's comfortable, something that's easy, like just sitting around or like playing Xbox or like
Right.
sitting in my bed or just like not doing anything throughout the day, not working out, something like that. It's like I find myself in slumps when I have no energy to do the things that are needed to have a successful day, have a successful relationship with Christ. I think
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to doing those things. That's when I realize like I'm in a slump. So
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It was interesting. I was reading an article on where was it? Was it Ancient Faith or OCN? I don't know, one of the Orthodox websites. And it was this lady writing it who's a writer and a Orthodox Christian and a mom. And she was saying, she was addressing this idea of Islam. She was saying the first things to go are her two most important things: praying and writing. And I was like, oh, well, that's like the same as me, and I think you were touching the same thing. So like the first things to go for me are always prayer, and it's always reading the Bible, because I know I should be doing those things, and I know like they're there and I can, but I always choose, like you were saying, to go sit on my couch on my phone, because
exactly.
like for some reason it's just that extra work. And I feel like that's that's temptation from the devil. That's just the cross we kind of all bear, is like we know we should be doing something, but we choose not to because it's just easier and more fun to watch Netflix or to scroll through Instagram,
Exactly.
And that's, it's not good. But
No,
it's all about kind of building habits, building better habits to
exactly.
become a better Christian. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I read actually, it's interesting, before we even talked about doing this episode, I like a week ago, I was watching this podcast about like daily routine stuff. And it was like, it takes about 3 weeks to build a habit, to consistently do it without even like thinking about it. It takes about 3 weeks, and people don't really realize how fast time really goes. So if they're doing those, comfortable things, those easy things for a good amount of time, like a good 3 weeks, a good month, then they're kind of stuck in that where it's going to be even harder to get out of now.
Right.
And I think with like religion and with our faith, at least, I think sometimes it's even, most times I would say it's even harder to get back into that
Yeah.
routine, that cycle of praying, reading the Bible, going to church consistently, reading scripture. It's even harder because it's not something we do really think about every day, because there's
Yeah.
so many different things going on in the world, so many different things going on in society. You can literally pick up your freaking phone out of your pocket and, you can get stuck on it for an hour and you lose track of time. And
Yeah.
like,
That's such a great point. I do that way too much. And like, it's interesting to bring up the point that like it takes 3 weeks to make a habit, because like I'd rather it take 2 days, because that's as much motivation
exactly.
I
And
have to
people
start a new
rather,
thing.
yeah, exactly. And like people will say like, okay, I'm going to work out. They'll go for about 2 days, 3 days, and
Mhm.
they're like, all right, like this is tough. And it's like,
Yeah, boy,
cool,
do I
you're
know
not,
that feeling.
yeah, you're not gonna build that habit then. And like
Right.
it's a process. And like I think that's also our Orthodox faith. It's all a process,
Yeah.
and it's
And I,
a tough road.
yeah, I think also like sometimes we build habits, like you were saying, we build bad habits, and sometimes like we build good habits that we just kind of fall off of,
Yep.
or we
Yeah.
just kind of put to the back burner and say, okay, well, I know how to do this, so I'll just kind of walk through it. Like prayer, like sometimes
100%. Yeah.
like I'll read my daily, I'll read daily prayers from my like prayer book or something, and I'll like read them, but I'm not praying them.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because that we see that in like a lot of things. It's like I know how to run, but sometimes I just don't. I'll just jog, or it's stuff like that. And it's interesting because yesterday I was working, and I work at a sandwich shop, and we slice our sandwiches to order stuff like that. And I've been slicing these sandwiches for like almost 2 years, and I've never cut myself on the slicer. But yesterday I was prepping some green peppers, and I just like wasn't paying attention. I was doing what I normally do, put my hand where I normally put my hand, but because the peppers were a bit smaller, my thumb like ended up kind of getting into the blade a little bit. And it was interesting because I was like, I told Sal this off camera. I was like, I was praying that last night, and I was like, Lord, I don't know why it happened, but thanks, I guess. Like, we should always be thankful for things that happen, just take something out of it. And this morning I was thinking about this episode. I was like, oh, like I was just like lazily doing my habit. I was just going through the motions, and I wasn't being vigilant like of my surroundings, of where my hand was placed, and I caught my finger. And like how accurate that is to our spiritual lives.
Yeah.
Like how much do we pray but not actually pray? How much do we go to church but aren't present? Like those things can all hurt us. And it's interesting because there was a quote that I found this morning as well, and it says, let's see where it's whatever we do or say without prayer always ends up either sinful or harmful, and convicts us through the deeds in some mysterious way. And so that's from St. Mark the Ascetic. And I was like, connected those dots. I was like, wow, how accurate is that? Because it happens in our spiritual life and in our daily life.
I mean, yeah, we do things. It's crazy. We do things every day, like without even thinking. And then like, we'll mess up, and we'll realize that, okay, maybe I wasn't paying attention to that. I was just going through the motions. But I liked how you said, we build these like good habits, and then you put them on the back burner, where it's
Mhm.
like, okay, I know how to do this. That means I don't have to focus on it as much, or
Right.
something like that. And like how you said, like the prayer, you think you're praying, but you're not doing it too much. You're in church, but you're not present, which I think is a really big thing. Is people, I do it all the time. I'll be
Yeah,
in
it's one of
church,
my
and
biggest struggles.
I'll realize that like 20 minutes has gone by, and I was literally staring into space, and I
Yeah.
wasn't even listening to the words.
Yeah, dude,
And
that
like,
always happens to me, like during the epistles and gospels,
yeah,
especially when they're like, if like they're read in both Greek and English, I like zone out, and then we're like at
yeah,
the great
exactly.
entrance. I was like, what?
Exactly. And then you like look up, and you're like, wait, we're already done.
Yeah.
And then like, I don't know, but I think, we've seen this. I'm sure you've had this personally. I've had it personally with people close to me. I mean, and you hear about it all the time. You have tragic events that happen in people's lives. You have something terrible that happens, and they choose to either take it as a good thing or take it
Mhm.
as a bad thing. And it's always sad to see it go the wrong way, but
Right.
it's great to see it go the good way, because it kind of proves that there is a good thing that can come out of something terrible. And I think, we get carried away. I get carried away. And what's really hard is the social media aspect is kind of putting such a damper on terrible things happening. And it's okay, this is terrible. This is bad. Like nothing good's going to come out, when it's like, I don't know. It makes me very frustrated because I think.
I totally agree. Like I've stopped watching the news. I just can't handle it.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Something bad.
Yeah. But it's interesting because like the world is just better when you set those distractions aside. Now, I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, if everyone could just like set those distractions aside and just lock their eyes on Christ, like what the world would be, it's like when we learned to drive, and maybe like you were taught differently, but I know like in driver's ed, I was like, they were saying, just lock your eyes on where you're trying to go and the car will get there. Right. Sure. There's other things.
License.
L. But it's like, it's the same thing with our Christian life. It's like, if we lock our eyes on Christ, the bad will come, the good will come, but nothing will deter us from the path, because we know the ultimate good and the ultimate truth, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And that's like that's how we get out of these slumps. Like once you wake up from your like this spiritual low, this worldly low, it's like, okay, what do? You could choose to stay there. You could choose to be I'm not going to choose to be depressed, but you could choose to just stay in this like low mood, this low energy. But it's like, no, you have to rise up. You have to get to Christ. But like there is work that has to be done. And just if you can take it all with prayer, then we get there easier.
100%. I was there like last year. For like anyone who's listening to this, if you play sports, whatever, I missed out on my senior lacrosse season last year because of COVID and everything. And like, I was so down low, like it was very difficult to deal with. And I was like, all right, it's only bad from here or whatever. And so like, I was in a slump where it was like, all right, just bad days. But like, once you finally break out of that, and like, once you kind of realize, all right, this isn't the end of the world, like there is more left to life. And I think like it is one of like the best feelings is like, finally waking up and you're just like, all right, like you break that cycle. It's like, it is a great feeling. And like, I've been there so many times where I like it'll just happen and stuff, where I'll just have energy. I'll be happy to do things, and it's a great feeling. And it's all about being able to consistently do it. And I know it's hard. And like for our spiritual life, like that's what our priests are there for. That's what our spiritual fathers are there for. Yeah. Confession. And like
just what the whole church is there for.
Exactly.
Our whole everything.
Exactly.
It's beautiful. And it all leads us to know that God is enough. And that's like how you get out of these things, is just remembering God's enough and living that, and living your faith daily, living orthodoxy daily, all of this combined. They're not just like sayings to make us feel better. No, it's like they're sayings that actually work to change our hearts and to change our lives. So hopefully if you're in a slump, you're hearing us right now, or rather hearing God through us, hopefully. And wake up, just go to church, pray, read the Bible, do something to motivate you to put one baby step forward, and you'll get there. We'll all get there. We're all going to have these times of slumps. We're all going to have these times of ups, but just like I was saying, just see the good through it all, see God through it all. And that's all we can do. So we'll see you all next time. I hope you enjoyed, and have a good one.